Hey there, I'm going to be starting to transfer some markings on my apple piece, and I'm going to be using Saral, or it also goes by the name of Transdoodle. When you buy it as Saral, you can buy it on a roll like this, which is great because it lasts forever, and I usually get the white. In this case, it comes with several colors, but again, I don't recommend using the yellow or the blue because it's much harder to remove from your fabric later on. So I have prepared here a dark background fabric that I'm going to put my apples on top of. And then underneath, over top of that is a piece of white Transdoodle or Saral with the chalky side down facing the fabric. That's important. And then my pattern on top. Okay, so I'm going to take a ballpoint pen and I'm going to trace. You got to do this on a hard surface. Make sure it's transferring. Yes, it is. You have to bear down so your lines transfer. And then I'm going to just go ahead and transfer the outside silhouette of the apples and this dark shadow. Oops. And do this middle apple here. When I do this, then on my background, I will have the placement already marked for where my apples will go. Okay, and I'm going to trace these lines as well, because I might need that later. All right, now I remove my pattern, my Saral. And it's not very dark, but you can kind of make out the lines. Okay, and I didn't trace every single line. I just traced the apples, and I began tracing the outside edge as well, so I know where the finished edge of my pattern is. Okay, so that's how you would mark a dark fabric. Okay, now I'm going to use the same process to mark the inside lines of my apple. This is one of the apple pattern pieces, and I went ahead and put some Misty Fuse on the back of my fabric. In this case I used black so you would show up better and you could see it better, but usually I use white. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut out my apple with a sharp scissors. And I'm just cutting on the outside edge up against the pattern piece. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of extra on this edge because it's going to underlap and I don't want any of the background fabric to show. So now I take my Saral. So first I have to remove my pattern piece. Remove the pattern piece. That's the freezer paper pattern piece that I've ironed on. And I'm going to put my apple piece down and chalky side down. Yep, chalky side down. And I'm going to sort of match up the edges, which I can kind of see through here. And now there's some little shadow lines here and the stem that I'm going to put on, because I'm going to use these lines later for painting. Okay, so now you can see on my apple I have the stem, which didn't really line up, but that's okay, I can fix that later. I have, and the shadow lines that I'm going to be painting in later. So that pattern piece you can set aside for now. But let me just show you where it goes on the background. So I've already marked my background, and this pattern piece right here is going to go right on where I've marked it. And then I can go ahead and pin it on or iron it on later, so I know exactly where it goes. Okay, so that is what you do with a dark background fabric. And next I'll go over how you transfer lines onto a light background fabric.